Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is UK Cowboys TV, Season 1, episode number 63. This week, we are still continuing on with the positional breakdown to end Season 1. This week, we have the brains, the brawns, and the beauty, though, to get through it all. I'm going to let you lot decide who's who. I'm just the jester, so it doesn't... So, we have a full Celtic crew. We got the two Scots, Paul and Graham. We've got the Luck of the Irish with Brian and myself, Mike from Wales. So how are we all doing, guys? Are we all doing good?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Doing good. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Almost there for the season.
Yeah. And getting there's little snippets where, like, I'm like an AC voltage wave going up and down, where it's like, season's not going to happen. Football, and then all of a sudden it's like, ooh, well, hold on a minute. You say what? And then it's like, there is going to be a football season. Then it all goes back to shit again.
No, I think there will be.
I think there will.
Even if they have to delay it to the spring, there's far too much money involved, and at the end of the day, money talks, especially across the pond. So even if they have to put it off till the spring, hold the draft after the season, and then give the players 3 months off as opposed to the 6, I think it will still happen.
Yeah. I mean, there has been talk about the NFL speaking to the NCAA about what they're doing with their games, because some of them are shifting to spring. So there's some talk of having the NFL draft in June. I think that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
Summer.
I like the idea of that.
I mean, at least all the tape will be fresh, and the college scouts will have it right in the back of their mind for when they start getting around the war room. So why not?
Yeah. And like, we could do our live draft show, and because it's summertime, could do a live draft show with all our barbecues on.
My
barbecue.
3 o'clock in the morning.
Why not? It's summertime. It'd be nice and warm out still.
My barbecue's always on.
I want to get one of them Traeger grills. Have you seen them?
I have.
But bomb, don't they? But they're like $1,000.
My egg pisses all over those Traeger grills.
Honestly,
Grand.
if you look at them, mate, they only use wood, right? And what you do is it's all done off your phone as well. So say you've got, like, I know you're cooking steaks. You put the probe into your steak. Yeah. You go on your phone. You tell it what meat you're cooking, how you want it, and how smoky you want it, and it just does it for you.
That takes all the fun out of it.
Yeah.
In some way, yeah. But I just want one just to be like, I want maximum smokiness, rare. Unless it's pork or chicken. I don't like that rare.
No, that's fake.
No.
That's dangerous.
I'm gonna honestly say it. The Big Green Egg changed my life.
And we've officially no longer become the UK Cowboys TV podcast. It's the barbecue podcast. You've gone off the rails before you've even started. Anyway, guys.
I was just about to say that. When did we start becoming a bloody cooking channel?
I know, yeah. The next thing we'll have a little clip next of Paul in nothing but an apron flipping eggs.
Why am I always the bloody guinea pig here? I know I've got the physique of a Roman Greek Empire or whatever you want to fucking say, but nah.
I can just imagine Paul in his best Alden Smith mode with a bottle of Buckfast in one hand.
Oh, mate.
I've seen that.
Ask Eugene Lockhart that question, because he actually held that bottle of Buckfast when I was in Texas.
We've seen drunk naked Paul before.
Oh yeah, you have actually. I completely forgot about
that. Anyway, let's try and steer this vehicle back on track, shall we? Yes, we're talking then about the linebackers this week. We did the defensive line last week, but before we break into that, let's just get some news. So first of all, breaking news. It's obviously at the moment the Cowboys news is fairly quiet, apart from the Dak situation. But around the league, breaking is Myles Garrett is about to get paid in the Browns $125 million deal.
I'm gonna say it. He's overrated.
I
know Mike is going to disagree because he's an A&M fan.
Even if he's A&M, honestly, I think the guy, he is good. He's great.
He's a physical specimen.
He's definitely that. In other news, defensive tackle Chris Jones from the Chiefs, he's been paid. Another big deal going on over there. But more importantly, there's the $500 million deal that we've been talking about, which is dropped this week, which is the Pat Mahomes deal. What does everybody make of that then?
He deserves it.
I'll be honest, I love it.
Deserves it.
I love it. I think they've taken away the uncertainty of the QB position for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
They've locked down a franchise guy who keeps his nose clean, knows how to win games on his own. He's already been to the Super Bowl. He's got his ring, and they're set at QB for the next 10 years. They can forget about drafting a blue chip talent and the worry of it. They can focus on other areas of the team.
Yep.
And it seems to be the way the league is going. Looking at the numbers, it seems to be that he'll be paid relatively well on the way up the ladder. You know, I think towards the end of the deal, it's something in the region of $50 million, which, let's face it, by then will be bang on.
I think it's 2027 when it starts hitting the $50 million a year. But like you say, increments going up.
Yeah.
The way you think about it as well is it's the whole 10-year contract. He's actually, this is unprecedented here. Like, this is, no one's ever done this before. Like, and this to me, like, if the whole argument with Dak, we're just about to talk about, is like, he wants a shorter term contract, but we want to try for him a longer term. But it just comes to show how much we are willing to give for a much longer term. It might actually work, and who knows?
Yeah. I mean, although in terms of this deal we have seen before, I think no, I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it Brett Favre who went on a life-term contract with the Packers? He signed something like that. Yeah, that was quite a life-term contract, wasn't it?
Like, the only contract I can recall, it's been so much longer, it was Tyron Smith's, I believe. It was his now, like a 7-year. Yeah. So
and wasn't that a 7-year extension? I think, like,
7-year extension.
It was tying him to the Cowboys for 10 years, I believe. Now, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So that's technically what's just happened with Mahomes. It's pretty much an extension, a 10-year extension. So, but it's just we're actually starting to see like more of these type of contracts now starting kind of. But a 10-year though, that's just ridiculous though. A 10-year.
Just a quick Google. You will laugh at this. And according to thescore.com, Drew Bledsoe signed a 10-year deal with the Patriots. Does anybody want to guess at how much it was?
Oh my God, it won't even be that much.
$103 million.
Wow.
For 10 years.
Wow.
Imagine that. That's like 10 million a year. Like.
That's wide receiver 2 money nowadays.
Yeah. Well, put it this way: there's some linebackers on this that we're looking at today who are earning more than that. Yeah.
Christ, like even backups get paid more than that.
Yeah. So Andy Dalton will be making that money.
How much is he making a season? Is it not like $2 million?
It's about $3 million on the cap.
Yeah.
So it is. It's $3 million on the cap this year.
Crazy times, man. Crazy times.
Mahomes is a slam dunk for the Chiefs. They've got their guy. He'll retire a Chief.
Oh yeah. And
unless he does some stupid, he'll retire a Chief.
Yeah.
Who knows? We've seen weird scenarios before.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was Andy Reid's project, so you
Oh
know,
yeah,
he's
without a
sitting there
doubt.
happy
Do you know?
as Larry.
Do you know what I didn't realise? Like, I know we're talking about the Chiefs here, but I didn't realise the former Browns GM, John Dorsey, was the one that wanted Mahomes. I didn't realise that until I watched the NFL drafts. Like, I've been watching the old ones back in the day, like when the whole Manziel Mania, all that stuff. And I went through the one when Mahomes got drafted and that, and all you see is big John Dorsey in the war room for Kansas City. I was like, wait, I didn't know that. So he was the guy responsible for Mahomes as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the I'm just looking at the structure of the contract, and the funny thing is, after 2024, the Chiefs can get out of this contract.
Yes, they can. I noticed that. The
So,
dead cap isn't so bad then.
There's absolutely no dead cap hit after 2024 season is out.
Yeah.
So they've given themselves 5 years effectively with Mahomes.
Yeah.
So whilst it's great to say it's a 10-year deal, you know, God forbid and nothing ever happens to chap, you know, it is as great as a 10-year deal for him, but the Chiefs have an out if anything does happen over the next couple of years.
It's just more of a security. It's just more of a security blanket more than anything, because it's like football. Like, quarterback is the most important position, but anything could happen. All it takes is one hit.
Yeah,
all it takes is one hit.
Yeah.
Look at Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
True.
That you know,
there's also
a generation changing. There's a generation that's never going to see that sort of quarterback, because coming out of Stanford, Andrew Luck was going to be, like we talked about, generation changing.
Yeah.
There's also an element of kind of post Andy Reid about it as well. So if the new guy doesn't fancy Andy Reid, I know there's no trade clause in there, but just if they decide to move on, they can move on in 2027, as you say, and or is it 2025 they can move on?
2025, yeah.
So they can, you know, if the new guy comes in and for some reason it doesn't click, there's an out, which is clever as well. But Mahomes isn't gonna, you know, he's not gonna quibble about that.
Well, we all kind of said that when it comes to Green Bay, they're not going to get rid of Rodgers until what just happened in the draft.
Yeah.
But
talking of that, the Green Bay Packers can't really move Rodgers. The dead cap hit on him this year and next year is massive. It's huge. It's like 30 million.
I still find it so questionable what the hell they were doing in that draft.
I think they're setting themselves up.
When you consider some of the receivers that were available to them,
I know
when Rodgers is like, poor Graham's dad must be frustrated as hell.
Yeah,
you know that they didn't need a quarterback and they took one. It just makes no sense, you know.
Yeah,
but then
it's like you said, when like they need a wide receiver. I don't recall them ever drafting a wide receiver under Rodgers in the first round. Don't even think even the second round. It's always been like third rounders, fourth rounders, and that. So I could be wrong, but
he thinks they're ready to win now, and that's why they've done it. They don't need to supplement the talent right now. He thinks they think. He's not necessarily convinced, but he thinks the Packers think they're going deep into the playoffs because, like you say, with all that talent there, why did they think about the future when you've got a perfectly good QB with 2 years of decent guarantees in his contract? They're not moving on from Rodgers, like you say, for at least another 2 years. And you're going, you know, all you've done is brought in a distraction for him, let alone, you know, think of the talent they could have got.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's Devontae Adams is their wide receiver one, but outside of that, like, I can't really name wide receivers.
They took Adams in the second round.
Was he second round? All right, okay.
That's as high as, like you say, Paul. That's as high as I think they can. I mean,
although I like Lazard. I think Lazard.
I've not even heard of him.
He could sneak.
That just comes to show my knowledge about the other teams.
Here's a little sneaky one for you for fantasy. He could be a little sleeper for your fantasy team.
And if you're taking fantasy tips off Mike, who never finished higher than fifth in our internal Cowboys dynasty league, you might want to reconsider.
It's a dynasty. You got to set yourself up.
Which we're
no
4
dynasty,
years deep
it's
into.
year by year.
Yeah. Right. Okay, guys. Let's get into linebackers then. So we'll do it how we've been doing all of the positions. We'll start with the guys who stayed, and then look at the guys they brought in, and go from there. So we'll start with the starters, going with really the main guy on the linebacker defense. Maybe you could say he's a bit of a captain on the defense. Well, he is the veteran Sean Lee. Now he's 33 years old. This is going to be his 11th year in the league. So from Penn State. So here's a blast from the past. I remember this as well. He was taken in the second round in the 2010 draft. Isn't that crazy to say that? Right. So
pick number 50, I believe, wasn't it?
55.
55.
Yeah. Now, just to go over some stats, and then I'm going to just leave you guys waffle on. He has, in his time with the Cowboys, he's had 2 seasons where he's played less than 10 games, and he's had 4 seasons where he's missed 2 or more games. So he's been, this is 11 years, so 10 years. In those 10 years, 6 of those years, he's not finished 16-game season. On the plus side, he did do it last year. His first year, he's had a 16-game season,
which I find is quite remarkable considering. As much we all love Sean Lee, but bloody hell, I was really surprised he made it through it the whole season.
Yeah,
really surprised.
I mean, especially when you talk of Sean Lee, you know, when people talk of General Lee, you know, you're thinking of this guy who's the staple of the linebacker corps. But what's crazy to say is, although he had 16-game season last year, he actually recorded, in terms of tackles, his 4th lowest in his career. He only had 86 tackles on the season, which is the 4th lowest. The other 3 being years where he's played 7 games for the season. I think there was one where he had 30 tackles for the year.
Do you think that maybe just down to the fact he was more rotated in with other linebackers, do you think?
This is where we are going to come to, And like a bit of, with the way things were going with LVE, you could see that they were trying to cushion him a little bit because they didn't want 2 of their main linebackers going down because of the premise of Sean Lee being injury prone. Now, just to give it, and I'll let you guys take over, the only other things he took on last year's stat line was a sack and interception, 4 pass deflections, and 3 tackles for a loss. So he is, of course, this year on a 1-year contract. They extend him for 1 year for $4.5 million. So I'm going to check it out to you guys. Waffle on. Is he worth the deal?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's his mental game. It's not like he just knows how to be at the right place at the right time. He's just got a great football mind, and it's something that can easily be passed on to the other players like Jalen and LVE and all the other guys in that linebacker corps. And you remember when we had the All or Nothing TV series? It's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
The video clips of Sean Lee, like the amount of time he does in preparation and that, like he's just a great example of a leader that can actually help influence, make other players better. So even if he's not even on the field, he's still making an impact, and I'm more than happy to pay him that money.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Paul's hit the nail on the head. Can't agree more. He's worth that money in terms of just what he means to the position and to the defense as well. I think he's still captain. Is that right? He's still a captain?
No.
Oh, he's not still a captain?
No, Jalen's captain.
Okay. Well, I mean, you just have to look at...
Is this based on captains from last season?
Yeah, last season.
Because also the captain's not been set for this year.
Yeah, they haven't been announced yet.
Okay.
I just look at you only have to go to the Super Bowl winners to realise that there's 2 ex-Cowboys linebackers on it, and Damon Wilson and Anthony Hitchens as well. They've now got their rings, so they had to learn it from somebody. Got to learn. They've learned it from Lee. Effectively, he just seems to be the type of ultimate professional. That's why he's still playing. That's why he's so important to us. I don't think we've, aside from the two early picks, there seemed to be a stage where we kind of took middle linebacker for granted, and then we kind of started to supplement it with Van Der Esch and Smith, who we'll get onto. But Lee has been the linchpin of that position and the defense for such a long time, and he's worth every penny still.
Especially when it comes to the run defense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just not like of all the things that Sean Lee does the best, he knows how to force the running back, like especially in the run game, force him out of bounds to try and not get him upfield. He's so good at doing that. Covering ground, making the area for the running backs with no room to go, but force them to go out of bounds, and that's something that's really hard to teach. It's just again, it's all down to that. It's all about the football knowledge.
Yeah, it's like as his legs get slower, his brain and his football brain gets faster. Idea, it just seems to keep going and keep producing for us. But like you say, he's played 16 games because he is starting to rotate a little bit now. But he's kind of like that old classic car that you couldn't see leave. He has to be there. But I just wonder how long can that clock keep ticking. He got to did he get to free agency? I think it.
No.
Or was it?
No.
I would see him hit free agency next year. Unfortunately, because he's one of my favorite all timers. But I just wonder if another year the rotation gets longer and longer and longer, and you just wonder how long his body can hold up as well.
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, I think when the years to come, when he does actually officially retire, I think there always will be a place for him within the Cowboys community in terms of if it's going to be if it's part of coaching staff or being an assistant or something like that. Like that's definitely something he can definitely excel on when post football, post playing career. Definitely.
That's something we've not even talked about. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up as a D coordinator for somebody. Maybe even head coach.
Yeah.
But again.
If you look at it this way, right, and we all see the clips on the sidelines from the NFL film, and I'm actually going to flip it back 10 years when Sean Lee was still in college, and I'm not sure if it was the Fiesta Bowl or the Orange Bowl that Penn State were playing in, and he'd blown out his ACL, and he was the de facto defensive coordinator. They had him on the sideline, and I believe they had him with a clipboard in his hand. He was telling the defense what they needed to be doing. But if you bring it back to today, the amount of times you see Van Der Esch and Smith sitting on a bench with Sean Lee in front of them, and Sean Lee being animated, he's not roaring and shouting like someone.
It's guidance.
It's guidance. This is what you need to do. You need to go this way. You're reading this guy, and you're going that way. You can see he's calmly explaining it. Like, I mean,
just add on top of that, he's got like the Microsoft Surface Pad as well, like going over to the previous play, saying this is what you did wrong. If you just did this little readjustment, that you would have got him, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, like we all were told how great Chris Richard was for 2 years.
Yeah,
and he was great because apparently he was shouting at everybody. But if you look at the 2 years that Van Der Esch and Smith have had, we'll say a season and a half they've had together, with Sean Lee guiding them, that far outweighs what Chris Richard did with the secondary. I think the secondary is in a worse position, but our linebacking core is in a great position because you have Sean Lee in that room and guiding the two players we have.
To go off what we was doing last week, one of the things that's going to help the likes of Sean Lee especially is what they've done on the D-line.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You will see a return to grace because obviously D-line, a lot of what we're seeing, I'll go over the rest of the linebacking core now, and it's the same across the board. The stats do look dire, but that explains to you straight away. It was the D line not clogging their gaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. As much as I hate to admit it, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I know an offensive lineman is, only ever so slightly bigger than a linebacker, but they're never going to win that battle.
It's like you said, see the way how the defense works is a chain effect. If the first line doesn't do their job, then the second string, which is the linebackers, they're going to have to work overtime, and now they're working overtime. The corners have to find two things at once, so that's where we're getting exposed. So it all goes back to the front line.
Yeah, yeah. It all starts in the trenches. Yeah. But going to our next guy is a guy we just mentioned, Mr. Jalen Smith. Now, this is a 25-year-old guy. We all know the Jalen Smith story from the Senior Bowl. Pretty much shattered everything from the knee down. I mean, I actually watched the game. I didn't see it happen, but I've seen a replay afterwards, and I went. I mean, that area of the bone is not supposed to bend that way.
Yeah.
And who caused that injury?
I know. Yeah, it was one of our lot, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
It was our very own Mr. 21, Mr. Elliott.
And that was going back to 2016. So we've had three. His first year was IR'd, rightly so.
Yeah, rehab and reconstructing the knee and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now he was taken in the second round, 34th overall. Now he was. Obviously, because he was a fourth rounder, you don't get the fifth-year option. They've already gone down the route of extending Jalen based on not the season just gone, the season before that, where he had a phenomenal year. He's on a 6-year deal, $68 million. In 2020, he's $7.7 million on the cap. In 2025, becomes an unrestricted free agent. Last year's stats, a bit down. As I say, due to various reasons with the D-line. Now, he had 142 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, an interception, 9 pass deflections, and 6 tackles for a loss. So it's still not that bad.
It's still decent stats.
It's a good stat line.
They're very big numbers.
Considering he's working double the effort.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I will say as I hand it back over to you guys, the only thing I will say with Jalen Smith is he didn't look this year as composed as we've seen in 2018. He seemed to be, what's the best way to describe him? It's just like he just needed to stop overthinking things and overrunning things. It seemed to be like he was trying to do too much at once. And it's like, well, slow down, calm down. You know what you're doing. Stop trying to overcomplicate it.
So here's my thought process behind that. That could be maybe down to the fact the pressure of being captain could be a factor.
Possibly.
Because it's a lot of responsibility.
I'll counter that. My own thoughts on this, right? If you take the first 8 games of last season in isolation, he was playing with Leighton Vander Esch the whole time. And I think nearly every post-game show we did, Jalen was always being mentioned as one of our best defensive players. Yeah. Vander Esch got injured, missed the second half of the season, and we didn't talk about Jalen as much. And my thought process on it is that he was so comfortable with Leighton Vander Esch there beside him that they were working hand in glove. They knew what the other player was going to do. And when Vander Esch wasn't there, and this is no knock because Sean Lee was filling in there, he just wasn't as comfortable. And it feeds into Paul's point then of, I think then the captaincy started affecting him because he felt, I have to take all of this on my own.
Yeah, no, I actually, the way how you can explain that, I can definitely see where you're coming from. Definitely, I can agree with that.
Yeah. But I'll get to you now, Gray. The one thing I was going to add that I forgot to mention is just to put into perspective with recency bias, if you like, in the draft. A lot of people were talking about a linebacker this year, Isaiah Simmons. Now, if we go back to 2016, when Jalen Smith was available pre-injury, that's what Jalen Smith was. He was the Simmons.
He was a top 10 pick. He was a top 10 pick.
A top three.
Yeah. There was consideration
that
he would have been the Cowboys' pick if he had been fully healthy
in 4. The first round.
Yeah. That he would have been the pick at 4, not Zeke.
Do you imagine if we stepped on Zeke as well?
I'm not sure if this was the correct thinking or it was that they believed that Jalen was a generational talent and that they thought Derrick Henry would slip into the second and they could have picked up Derrick Henry in the second. And that was the thought process. When Jalen got injured, then they flipped into the mode of, right, we need a running back, we're taking Zeke. And then Jalen slipped them in the second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it all worked out great.
Yeah, it did. It worked out phenomenally well.
But I know you had a take, Graham. If you've got a take on Jalen, hit us with it, mate.
I think it's one of the strongest areas of the defense. Let's face it, the competition wasn't great last year, so so we'll take that with a pinch of salt. But I'm going to take the listeners back in time again to the Brian Broaddus show. If you remember, we had him on during the season, and we were talking linebackers, and I could see him in the corner, wanting me to pull the trigger, and I couldn't do it. And then he added on to the point that they weren't playing up to expectations, and I hope they can find that next step. But I'm not going to be too critical because they had so much else to do. That's what we were talking about. Yep. You just wondered if Jalen was thinking too much.
Yeah.
He's got his assignment, and down to the poor play of the D line last year, you just wonder, have I got my assignment and then I'm watching his assignment because I think he's going to miss his assignment or not fulfill it? And you just wonder if there was too much going on in their heads. Also wanted to touch on the Jalen Smith contract. I thought that was a breath of fresh air, not only for the Cowboys, but for the NFL. My understanding of it was there was no challenge to it. He got a good offer of, was it a 5-year extension he signed?
5 years,
and he signed it. There was no
hesitation.
I want an extra this. I don't want to do that. I don't want a trade clause. I want this, that. No, he just flat out signed it. I want to play football. And it was a breath of fresh air for the entire NFL. I wish more players were like him when it came to contract time.
Yeah, I find a lot of it is because Dallas was the only team that actually like they've put all their money and investment just to get him back on the field as well. Yeah. And I think and like I've got to meet Jalen, and he's just such a great high spirited guy, man. And man, I just kind of feel as though he's like I need to like show my appreciation, like take the contract and just play ball and do like if it wasn't for Dallas, I wouldn't be in this situation. Yeah, because they paid for they paid for the therapy, they paid for the treatments to get the knee fixed. And we're getting the results. We are getting the results.
Yeah. But think of the players that have gone to win the Super Bowl. Average players have gone on to win the Super Bowl, and all they can think in February is, right, let's see dollars. Let's get the checkbook out to keep me because I've just won a Super Bowl. How many players have held their team to ransom when their team have put them on the field, they've stuck by them, they've maybe been a late round pick, they've ended up with a Super Bowl, and when it comes to contract time, they fleece them or they go elsewhere. That's not Jalen Smith.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the way how Jalen kind of approached this whole scenario remind me of what Brian Urlacher did for the Bears. He just straight up just signed. He just wanted to play for the Bears.
Did
yeah.
That's what I wanted to do. Just wanted to play ball, continue. He was happy.
Yeah.
What more can you love about him?
Like if you look at Graham's point, and this is well made, in terms of and I don't want to say this player is an average player because I think he's an above average player.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
if you look at Anthony Hitchens, who left last year in 2019 in free agency, he got the same contract as Jalen, I think, pretty much.
It's close enough, yeah.
Which of those two players would you want on your team?
Jalen.
For me, it's Jalen all day long. Do you know?
That's why Jalen Smith's still here,
and that's why he's here, and Anthony Hitchens is gone. And I'm not trying to disrespect Anthony Hitchens in any way. He was a great player for us, but we needed to keep Jalen Smith.
Yeah,
and that's why Anthony Hitchens moved on.
Not just that, like we would have given Hitchens a lot less money as well.
Yeah.
So he was definitely thinking in terms of the money side, and I don't blame him, to be honest.
No, you can't. You can't.
Like, you need to try and cash in as much money as you can within your career, because it is a short career playing in professional American football.
Yeah. Like you can't turn around and blame Hitchens because he was looking and going, right, I've Jalen Smith, but I also have a first round guy biting my ass off now in Leighton Van Der Esch, who's just after a great rookie season. So he could see the writing on the wall. Yeah,
he knew where his position was, so like he would just be more getting like the only type of contract with the draw would make him go in rotation, and that wouldn't do too well for him. So I told like he wanted to get more game time and he wanted to get more money. So totally understandable.
Yeah,
definitely.
And that's just the business of football.
Yeah,
exactly that. Exactly. It's just, and it is a business. It's business for both sides. For both sides. But going on to the next guy in the big three, when it comes to the linebacker core, is our rookie sensation. Because when he came in 2018, he just exploded onto the scene. Great 2018 season. 2019 is where we will stop off with the next guy, which is Leighton Van Der Esch. So he's 24 years old. This is going to be his third year. From Boise State, First rounder, taken 19th overall in the 2018 draft. Now he's still on his rookie contract, which means there's the 5th year option available to him. But in terms of the actual rookie contract they're offered without that is a 4-year deal, and he's into his third. So he's 3.2 mil on the cap. Nothing we can do about that because it's the rookie deal under the CBA. Now 2019, as I say, 9 games is all we got out of him. Back to the old neck injury that was a concern with Van Der Esch. Still, I've done a bit of calculations as well to tie all this in. He finished on the season stat line wise with 72 tackles, half a sack, 1 forced fumble, 3 pass deflections, and 4 tackles for a loss. If we was to equate that over a 16-game season, that would be 127 tackles, sacks, forced fumbles stay the same. 5 pass deflections and 9 tackles for a loss. So he is effective.
Oh, absolutely! Like the fact that he's got those stats just within, just above half a season.
Yeah.
That just comes to show that how much and this kind of goes back to the question like we were just talking about, like where Jalen and Van Der Esch are on board. Like they have that chemistry where they can go. It's a yin and yang, you know. So but when he's on the field, he makes things happen.
That's true, yeah. I mean, just to look at it, is the neck issue is the biggest thing. Does that concern anybody? Although he has come out and said he feels great, he's ready to work out, is the fact that this is a long-term history. I mean, this was predating college, the neck injuries. And then it raises its head again in the NFL. Is this a concern for anyone?
I'm going to say yes in a way because the reason I'm seeing this, the reason why is I'm thinking of the scenario what happened with Ryan Shazier for the Steelers.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm kind of concerned about. Like I know he's got the protective backboard for his neck and helmet.
The neck roll.
roll. Yeah. So it does make a difference, but oh god, like it's. I don't know, man. And it's the same with, it doesn't matter what position, like obviously we were talking about QB, about one hit from a home's not, but it's the same with a linebacker. All it takes is waiting to tackle in a certain way, and that's it. You can pinch that wee nerve and that's it. Lights are shut out.
Yeah.
So
you get a stinger, it could lead to anything else.
Oh God,
Yeah.
and stingers are the worst.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've had a few of them over the years. But yeah, it's for a guy his size as well. Like again, I've met LVE as well in the Star in Frisco, and he is a big boy, man. I couldn't like. And sure, I just can't believe this guy actually is a linebacker. If I'm honest, I would have thought you stand next to him, you would think he was like a defensive end because of his height. Like, it's like, and I don't know if that maybe have something to do with it because he is a big, powerful, sized figure for that position. So, and that means he needs to go lower, even lower than most linebackers to make the tackle, and that could actually have some strain on the net in terms of making those tackles. So that could be some factor behind that.
And he's very much, he is, the best way I look at it is a guy you just mentioned, just previously when we were talking about James Smith. He reminds me of Brian Urlacher.
Not just because the neck roll, but it's but it's a style of play.
The style, yeah.
Like the way he runs in coverage and how he tracks down like wide receivers, like going into his, like if it's zone or man, doesn't matter. But he's on him like that.
Yeah, you want your linebacker to be a tackling machine, and that is exactly what he is.
I think what defined Latvander's was from his rookie season, where I can't remember what game it was, but basically he basically tackled two people at once. He tackled down an offensive lineman and the running back at the same time. That just
grabbed up with the top of him, didn't he?
Yeah. Like just brought both of them down, and I just thought that is just sheer grit, grit and power. So,
yeah. But I mean, Graham, Brian, you got to take anything you want to say about LVE before we move on to the next guy?
The neck does, again, it gives me a little bit of concern as well, just because of the college injury and because of where it is. I mean, if you can imagine a linebacker, when he goes in for the tackle, he's either putting the helmet to the left or to the right. So it is a concern. I mean, if it was a wide receiver we were talking about, you're maybe thinking, nah, maybe not so much. But because he has to put his full body in, and the neck is such a fragile area, as we know, it's got to be a concern.
Just to add on top of what you just said there, Graham, we've not even talked about what happens if an accidental head-to-head collision.
Yeah. I think. I mean, I love Van Der Esch. I think he's a great player, especially from his rookie season. And I'm trying to think off the top of my head. He missed. Just looking at his stats, he missed the Giants game in week 9, but came back for 2 weeks. Was he sat down in week 12, or was the week 9 injury different? Can anybody remember?
I think
he came back. He came back, and it was one of them things where they were trying it. And he just didn't.
He played a couple of snaps, and he just didn't fit. It just didn't like. It was one of those ones. It's like, nah, it just didn't look right into the position, and that's why they brought him back out. They just try to see if
there was anything.
That makes me think that they're trying to manage the injury, which is sensible.
Yeah. It was quite obvious though during those 2 games.
Yeah. If you're looking for, I don't really know if it's a criticism, because I'm not too much of a defensive guy, but from my understanding of it, a 4-3 linebacker isn't necessarily required for sacks and interceptions and so on.
It's more for the coverage side.
It's for tackling and coverage, isn't it? So you can't really give them too much stick for the sacks and the interceptions and so on. I just wonder if it's an overstressed position by other parts of the team, or the side of the ball falling down around about it, and then we lost Van Der Esch. That's, I mean, I think it's no coincidence that we lost Van Der Esch towards the end of November, and that's when it really started to unravel. So he's one of the kind of shining beacons for that defense that you can build a team around. They haven't looked at linebacker in the draft, so they obviously think Van Der Esch, Smith, Lee can get the job done.
I'm going to counter that slightly, just on the draft. In the fact that we did look at a lot of the top linebackers this year in terms of Kenneth Murray, Patrick Queen, some of those guys, Zach Bond as well, and I think there was also talk of Logan Wilson from Wyoming. I think that we did look at linebackers as potential top 3 picks. So I don't know whether that's a signpost or it's more a case of McCarthy and his team were looking towards, right, if we switch it up and do play some snaps as a 3-4, that we need outside linebackers as well, and that they planned to manage Jalen and Leighton as being the inside guys.
Yeah.
Okay. But I would say that look at is the key term, and they opted to go for a luxury pick at wide receiver.
That's the
as
thing.
Opposed to fix a problem at middle linebacker.
Yeah.
But like you say, I mean, Sean Lee's not going to be there forever.
Yeah.
Could they have gone for a middle to late round linebacker? Possibly. Didn't.
Here's an obvious, and I think this might be down to the fact that it is a different coach we've got now. That would have a lot to play. See, if we were still under Jason Garrett, I could probably see us definitely going for more defensive position, because that, like, they know under that coaching staff that was the weakest point. He would strengthen it, but McCarthy's came in, brought his coaching staff, reevaluated everything, along with Jerry, gave their personal input in, and they would see, like, just get the best player available. We can work with these guys to suit this new system, and we can evaluate it during training camp. If we need to get someone else in, we can do it at a later date.
In other words, Blake Martinez, who signed a mega deal with the Giants.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But again, sort of, if you look at Paul's point and expand on it a little bit further, right? In our last however many drafts, right, our first round picks have been Zeke, Taco, then we had Tristan Hill and Leighton Van Der Esch, right? 2 of those guys were Rod Marinelli picks.
Yeah.
In terms of Taco and Tristan Hill. And one of them was a bust, and we don't know what the second one is yet. And it was great to see.
We know the potential of
But it was great to see this year that we made sensible picks, in that, you know, you could see them picking according to the board, you know, that when you look at it, right, Lamb was a luxury pick. We all know that. We're not going to debate that any further. He was number 6 on the board. Trayvon Diggs was considered at that pick for CD Lamb. We got him in the 2nd. Paul's boy Neville Gallimore was being considered in the 2nd. We got him in the 3rd. We got Bradley and I in the 5th. You know, those guys fell into our laps, but we made sensible picks and went after those guys. And that was great to see. And, you know, that a coaching team, and as we say, we can't ever give this guy enough credit, Will McClay, picked sensibly, you know. And you can see all of those guys being contributors this year, which is great to see. Whereas for the last couple of years, as I say, we saw a bust, and we don't know what we have yet with Tristan Hill.
Yeah, I think a lot as well as the McCarthy's other coaching staff, they would have their inputs in it as well.
Yeah.
Like, and one of the other bigger needs we need to improve as well, and I know we're just talking about defense, but it was special teams. John Fassel, I can't pronounce his sentence. Is it Fassel or Fassel?
Fassel, I think.
Fassel.
Right.
Yeah.
Fassel, right. So he would have his inputs. Is like, this guy could actually be a good runner, a gunner, whatever. Like, if we were to draft him, they would definitely make a good impact in special teams and stuff like that. So it's all these other considerations they need to think about as well. And I felt as though during that whole draft process this year, we did that. Like, there was a lot of consideration of, like, varying those options.
Yeah.
Like,
And I know we're going to cover it in a couple of shows times, but if you look at our special teams, we've taken a big hit in special teams this year in terms of gunners. Like, Jeff Heath obviously was a huge
Right.
special teams
Ryan
player.
Switzer.
Yeah. The other guy I'm thinking of is Kayvon Frazier. Both of those guys were huge on special teams, and they're gone. And we needed to fill them in as well, and they've done something that can help the team.
Like we actually, I mean, a couple of the guy I just mentioned that a couple of seasons ago, we actually drafted in was it the 4th round, Ryan Switzer?
Yeah,
North Carolina. We had him for one season, and he was great in special teams. He was great.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, talking of special teams, here's some guys that are rotational, but also special teams fillers, if you like. We've got the 3 backup linebackers. So Joe Thomas, Justin March, aka Justin March Lillard, but not Lillard, and Luke Gifford, who's a guy that they decided to keep hold of, which is quite interesting. Now
he's quite a flexible linebacker. He can play outside and middle.
He's quite an interesting one because if you remember Luke Gifford, this is his 2nd year. He was an undrafted free agent from the Cornhuskers.
Yeah.
Now, this was a guy where everyone was like, maybe practice squad, but they actually kept him on the active roster, which made you be like, so what have we got here? But out of the 3 guys, Joe Thomas is the oldest veteran, 29, 6 years. This is be his 6th year in the league. Taken undrafted by Green Bay. He's 1.2 million on a cap. Believe it or not, last year he played in 15 games with 33 tackles and a forced fumble as well. Yeah. Justin March, on the other hand, he's the middle guy. 27, 6 years, mind you, from Akron. Undrafted free agent as well from Kansas, then bounced around Seattle, Miami, and the Cowboys in and out as well. But he's back again. 1-year deal for $1 million. Now, he has, in his last 2 years with the Cowboys, has been in 32 games. Mostly, though, rotating.
Rotation.
And doing other
coming in like for 3rd down or 4th down and like emergency preps or whatever.
Yeah, and being there on special teams because he's only in those 32 games racked up 16 tackles, so it's more rotational duty. And then Luke Gifford, as we mentioned, then he's the Cornhusker. He will be a restricted free agent in 2020, 3-year deal. He's the 2nd year of that deal at 1.7 million against the cap this year. 1.7 million is the total deal. 670K for the year, so really hasn't got much pull on the cap, and in that time he's been in 6 games with 6 tackles, so he's done his job. Let's go around the horn. How do you rank these guys? I'll start with you, Brian. We'll go alphabetical. Joe Thomas, Justin March, and Luke Gifford.
Yeah, for me, Thomas is your fourth linebacker, and the familiarity with Mike McCarthy is only going to play into his hands because McCarthy knows what he has. He is a great 3rd down linebacker, and he is great in coverage. Go back, watch some of his ladder tape with the Green Bay Packers, and you will see him on 3rd down breaking up play. I would expect Gifford to displace Justin March as your 5th choice linebacker during the course of the season, because taking us back to this time last year when we started the podcast and any chats we had with the likes of Brian Broaddus or offline when we would have been chatting to some of the other Cowboys staff, they were all saying, keep an eye on Luke Gifford, this guy will make the 53, and he did.
Yeah.
So that's how I'd rank them, would be Thomas, Gifford, March.
Okay.
But all 3 should be great contributors on your special teams as well.
Yeah, yes. I can't argue with that. I completely agree with Brian on that. I don't really have much to add on top of that. You just nailed it with profit. That's my exact same thought process behind that.
All right. You got a take on any of those guys then, great? Otherwise, or do you want us to move to the rookies?
Yeah, he stole my thunder with Joe Thomas. He absolutely knocked out of the park with Joe Thomas. Something there.
The only one I think could be a little underdog in that entire group is Justin March. There's something sneaky there. I've just got that feeling, and it'll come together. But let's wait and see. But we did take 2 other guys. Oh, go on. Sorry.
I was just going to say we were quite happy that we managed to sign him back on. So
yeah. It's a solid 1 year deal for $1 million, so it's not much on the cap.
Yep.
You get to see what's there for another year. You know, he's reliable. You know, like I say, with the 2 years he's been with the Cowboys, he's been involved in 32 games.
Yeah, like if you are getting a guy like that on the cap for $1 million, and as a 5th or 6th choice linebacker, he's contributing.
Yeah.
When we're playing a 4-3 defense, that's exactly what
he's trying to get reps regardless. He's trying to get reps at linebacker.
Especially when Van Der Esch and Lee can be injury problems.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just to touch on Joe Thomas for a minute, the second year, just looking at the stats, 63 tackles, 5 passes deflected, an interception, and he played he was involved in all 16 games in that year. So you just wonder if that could be topped up a little bit, he would become a mainstay of the team. You just wonder if the McCarthy effect. Like we talked about before, Blake Martinez he's made his money in New York now. So if they're wanting to bring in somebody else into the mix, you'll know Thomas well, especially with all sorts of reduced time with the players and postseason, preseason, and all that kind of stuff. He won't be too different to the guy that he left in Green Bay.
Yeah. All right then. There are then on the roster battling for spots are 2 rookies, both taken as undrafted free agents. So there's Azur Kamara from Kansas and Francis Bernard from Utah. So out of the 2 guys, Kamara had, because they both went to the combine, Kamara had the better. He had a 4.5940, 1.6, mind you, in the 10-yard split, which is impressive. That's good. 121 in the broad jump, and a 4.46 in the shuttle. And one of the things he is good at is short area quickness. So the shuttle showing that off a bit. The only issue I've got with him, right, guys, and I'll let you take a hold of this. I know Paul's itching to go on him, so I'll let him take it.
I was just about to say, he's not just a linebacker. He actually had reps playing defensive line, playing at his end as a hybrid.
Yeah. But here's the issue I've got with him, right? Only 13 reps on the bench. When his wide receivers boshing more than that out. So what's everyone's take on Kamara then? Have we got anything?
We talked a couple of weeks ago about the size, the stats of the players that were being brought in, and at NFL.com has him listed at 6'4", 235.
Yeah.
So he's a big guy. Maybe just gives him the edge over Bernard. But
I think it does.
I don't know. I don't think so. Like, because the way I'm seeing it is just because he has been moved about from being like a coverage, like outside linebacker to be more of a defensive end. So he's been positioned as this type of Von Miller like hybrid. You know what I mean? Like sometimes he's on the line, sometimes he's in coverage type of thing. So, but for that, like that's where the height does come into play, I suppose. But
just to let you know, breaking news, Dak, breaking news.
Oh,
they are. The Cowboys, Dak, and his agents are all in communication talks right now in the Star.
Ooh!
Deadlines make deals, guys. Now, we weren't going to talk about Dak because obviously we're recording this on a Tuesday, but that's just come out. So very exciting news. That could be a deal being made. Obviously, it's got to happen before midnight, but that's over with you guys over in the States. Midnight here happens in about 2 or 3 hours.
So, guys, could you imagine if it was a 10-year deal? Could you imagine?
And we've just said all that we've said about Mahomes.
Oh man!
So, a million more.
So can we start talking about potential deals for Jamal Adams and Jadeveon Clowney now, please?
Oh.
Now, the only thing I'm going to say, mind you, just to bring us back a minute on, just to bring us back tomorrow, is playing with Dorrance Armstrong, who was a teammate, so they played together. So there's a little one. But Francis Bernard, this guy, and then we'll talk about our last guy on the list. Bernard, I mean, this guy's got quite a road to go down. 4.82 in the 40, 120 on the broad jump, 19 on the bench. And even then, I mean, you know, with Bernard, looking at it, it seemed to be his IQ that was letting him down. His football IQ, reading coverage. I noticed that quite a lot.
I'm going to stand up for the guy here. Watch his game tape. His game tape is very, very impressive.
It's
and I think his stock went down based off what happened in the combine. But when you look at the game tape, he is a big guy. And he can tackle, he can lay the wood. From what I saw, now I'm open to being corrected by any of you, but that is what I saw. That he was projected maybe 6th, maybe 7th round, and the numbers at the combine dropped him out into UDFA.
Yeah, I mean, I still think he's got a long road to go down because it's more the IQ. Yeah, he's got hand techniques. When he's in coverage, he'll make the play, but it's trying to get him there in the first place. Is what I've got on him. But we'll talk about this last guy. Really, what I'm actually doing right now is talking very slowly, trying to buy time to see what happens with the Dak deal. But the last guy,
that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to get as much gossip right now.
I have sent some messages around to the guys over in the Star to see if they've got any news, which we can bang out now. But it looks like everyone's offline at the moment. So that should tell you all you need to know. But there's one last guy. We could have included him in last week's conversation with the D-line, but we'll add him as a linebacker, is Randy Gregory. Now, he's applied for reinstatement. What do you guys all think? Do you think, A, he'll get reinstated, and B, what sort of effect he'd have on the roster?
Right, I've got a counter question for that. Do I want him in the team? Yes.
Okay.
But is it likely that he's going to get reinstated? How long's a piece of string?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Like, I'm still. You just may never know what Goodell's thinking, man, or what he's smoking these days.
Well, I asked the question. Who was it I asked the question to? I forget who it was. Might have been Derek Eagleton. But I said, you know, he's supposed to be reinstated. They've applied. What's going on? And one of the things he came up with was, look, the coronavirus has got a lot to do with things running a bit slower than normal. Offices are closed. People can't communicate as quickly. So whether that has an effect, I don't know. But that could be one of the reasons why things are slowing down.
For if it's documents that it's on the computer and people are working from home, I see. Like, I'm just saying it from my experience. I've actually been more productive working from home in terms of what I've been doing. Like, because I can still communicate with people, but I'm not having the interruptions as much, like being in an office environment. So I don't buy that at all. I don't know why, but it's just I think it's just because that's what's going on with me when it comes to my job. I know it's completely different because it's over in the States and that, but I don't know. It's just a person. I just find that just being absolute twats to the end of the day. That's the NFL.
That is the NFL, is what they say. But guys, that is. We've gone over the hour. So that is, of course, the end of this week's show. Now, before we go away and I get you to all say goodbye, you must remember, guys, that if you're planning to go to a game this season, if the season kicks off, or shall I say when the season kicks off, because I'm going for positive mental attitude.
I hope so.
Yeah, and for you as well, Paul. Can't forget you. Make sure you book your ticket through Cowboys Experience. When you do use book your tour or your tickets through Cowboys Experience, use the booking code UK Cowboys to get a free gift and get little bonuses. As we say every week as well, when you go to the events, send us your pictures and your messages. We love to see what's going on over there. We'll post them up for you on the page as well. But guys, this week, that is the linebacker core. Next week is defensive backs. So we are edging ever so closer to the end of season 1. But from myself, from Paul, from Brian, and from Graham, this is UK Cowboys TV. We will see you next week, guys.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.
Good luck, folks.